Hi there, Deckel here. Today I'm going to give you a little tour around a pre-release version of MathFun for the Intellivision. In this case, the prototype is closer to the released game than my recent look at Vegas 2. Nonetheless, I think there are some interesting bits and pieces to see. Like Vegas 2, this version of MathFun comes from some playtape files retrieved from a PDP-11 owned by Technology Associates. And like Vegas 2, the file is dated December 1979. Now, obviously we have to take file dates from back then with a pinch of salt, as not all machines had real-time clocks. But, if it's correct, this program dates from the very early days of the Intellivision. Remember that this is the date of the playtape file put together by Gerald engineers. The program itself must be older than this. As we can see, the title of the game and copyright information differs quite a bit from that in the released version, shown on the left here. And it's a bit weird that the copyright date of the prototype is actually later than the 1978 date used in the retail version. However, as we'll see, this version definitely predates the regular release. Now, before we start looking at the gameplay, there's something else to show you on the title screen. Listen to the tune when I press reset. Yes, it's significantly longer than the version in the retail release of the game. For the 3 people who watch my videos from outside the USA, and therefore who don't know, the tune is the theme song to The Electric Company, one of the programs created by the Children's Television Workshop. Here's the original version.
We're gonna turn it on. We're gonna bring you the power. We're gonna light up the dark of night like the brightest day in a whole new way. We're gonna turn it on. We're gonna bring you the power. It's coming down the line, strong as it can be, through the courtesy of the electric company. The electric company. The electric company.
Now, the really cool thing about MathFun is that we have the source code for the production version of the game, as well as this playtape file. And if we look at the sound code, we can see the full version of the song is still there, just that the second half is commented out. It appears that Larry Zwick has taken ownership of this change. I don't think that this alteration was forced on APH for space reasons. Perhaps it was just that Mattel felt that the tune went on for too long. Okay, on to the gameplay. And we can immediately see that the background and border colours are violet rather than green. Now obviously this is a really weird and inexplicable choice, given the jungle theme of the game. And once we get past the game selection screen, we see that this choice persists into the actual gameplay. It's really very strange. The actual gameplay seems to be identical to the retail release, so there isn't too much to report here. However, I did find a bug in this version of the game. Let's set up a game with 10 puzzles, and we'll choose level 1, 1 for the left-hand player. So we should only get single-digit addition problems for player 1. Then we'll choose 10 puzzles for player 2, but we'll play at level 5, 2, the hardest level. Let's face it, the right-hand player is a hardcore gorilla. And away we go. Hang on, 5168. That's not a single-digit addition problem. Okay, so the answer is 5176. What? Okay, I'm sure I typed that in correctly. Let's just check. Yep. The answer is definitely not 17. Okay, I guess we're consigned to the river. On to the next puzzle. 8 plus 7, well, that's obviously 15. And everything seems to be working again. Now, this occurs about every 1 in 50 games. But you've got to believe that a maths game released by the Children's Television Workshop getting its answers wrong is a really bad look. So, what exactly is happening here? Well, values for each puzzle are stored in 16-bit RAM, right next to the area reserved for the program call stack. Sometimes, if the timing of entering data on the game selection screen is just wrong, the call stack grows and overwrites the first value of the left-hand player's puzzle. So the value 5168 is the return address for a game subroutine that's being blasted over the top of the actual value, 9 in this case. In fact, the underlying problem of a stack overflow is the same issue that causes crashes in World Championship Baseball. Now, you won't find this bug in the retail version of the game, and we can find out why if we look at the source code of the released game. Here, we see the definitions of the first and second operand, or value, for each of player 1 and 2's puzzles. You can see here that this was originally allocated using a vsect command, which placed it into 16-bit RAM. However, Larry Zwick moved this data to 8-bit RAM using a z or zsect command. In doing this, he also had to increase the size of each block of memory allocated from one 16-bit value to two 8-bit values. This totally removes the problem and gives the stack just a bit more space that it seems to need. Okay, so is there anything else we can learn from the source code? Well, if we look at the files, we can see that there are some creature sounds created by Hal Finney in late 1978. Then, the majority of the files are dated from August 1982. These files build the standard retail version of the reverse entry variant of MathFun. This is also known as the pen and paper or right to left version of the game. In this version, if we want to enter the number 123, we would key it in as 321, working from units to hundreds, just as we would if we were doing the sum on a piece of paper. Of the other files, dated from July 1979, 3, that's those with the V01 extensions, are earlier versions of the same assembly code from the 1982 version. And these 3 files contain the original code for the forward entry variant of the game, also known as the natural or mental arithmetic left to right version. Here we have to type 123 to enter 123, just as we would if we were typing it into a calculator. Using these files, we can build the retail version of the forward entry variant of MathFun, with the regular title screen, shortened tune, green background and no stack bug. So what this means is that our prototype version of the game was probably written prior to August 1979, and it took some time for it to get to Gerald and then be converted into a playtape file. You'll notice that when I keyed in my answer 5176, I typed it from left to right, starting with the thousands. This confirms that the prototype is indeed the earlier variant. We can, of course, compare the forward and reverse entry variations of the source code. And if we look in master.asm, that's the file that controls the generation of problems, right at the top we see this comment. So it looks as though the changes from forward to reverse entry were made at the beginning of May 1982, probably by Kevin Miller. And they were based on some investigation by his APH colleague Chris Hawley. So the absolute earliest that a revised reverse entry math fun could have made it to the shelves was probably around September 1982, once you take into account the time to test and manufacture the ROMs. There's probably a load more that we can learn from these files, but this video is getting too long already, so I think that'll do for the moment. So there we are, a quick look at a prototype version of Math Fun for the Intellivision. Until the next one, cheers.